Hi everybody, welcome to Business Computing Weekly. This is episode number 355 and we are recorded here on Sunday, April the 22nd, 2012. Steve Clingan is our guest today, also known as Linux Cool Dude. That's his nick on his show Chatterboxed-Live. It's Chatterboxed-Live. You can find that on Justin TV. And he's also on Twitter, Chatterbox-Live as well. Hopefully we got a good show for you today. We're talking a little bit about the 4 versions of Windows 8 and which version is going to be right for you. So all that and more when we come back with this week's episode of Business Computing Weekly. And we're back, and I want to thank everybody again for being with us on this Sunday afternoon. I want to remind everybody we are sponsored by Gfi Software and FrugalBrothers.com. And I'm really excited to talk about a new product that's just been released, Mailessentials 2012. And Mailessentials and Mail Security have been a bread and butter business for GFI for many, many years. Now, this is an on-premise anti-spam and antivirus protection for Exchange Server. They've used by tens of thousands of companies throughout North America and actually worldwide. But one of the things that people's been asking for more than ever is to have just one console, just one way to interface with this software. And now we're glad to announce Mailessentials 2012. And what we've done is we've taken both versions, Mailessentials, the anti-spam product from GFI, and Mail Security, their antivirus protection for Exchange Server, and put them all together in one product. And now you can get them in 3 different editions. Mailessentials Anti-Spam Edition, Mailessentials Mail Security Edition, and finally Mailessentials Unified Protection. And you get all 3. And no matter what version of Mailessentials you get, you also get disclaimers, email monitoring, and all the other tools that came along with Mailessentials. Guess what? Even if you get Mail Security, you get those as well. And you get one, and it's web-based. This is something else that people were asking for. It was web-based, and you can generate the reports right there in the web-based interface. This is exciting stuff. Now, if you're covered by software maintenance with GFI, you can upgrade to this part of for free, part of your covered maintenance contract. Check it out, GFI Mailessentials in Anti-Spam, Mail Security, and Unified Protection Editions. Now we've got a guest today. We've got Steve Clingan on the show, and we're going to go ahead and welcome him to the show. Hey Steve, how you doing? Welcome on board today.
It's great to be back again, and interesting enough, you told me that I was the first guest since you went on your hiatus last year, I think, as well.
Yeah, it was a year ago. Well, just about a year ago. I think the end of June of last year, we left and came back in the late fall.
And I'm here to talk about Windows 8.
Windows 8, we're talking, one of the beefs that so many people's had with Microsoft for so long, Steve, is all the various SKUs. By the way, SKU stands for Stock Keeping Unit, in case you didn't know. That's what SKU stands for. It's a retail term. But Windows had a number of SKUs, unlike, say, OS X, which basically you had your choice of one version, and it had everything in it, soup to nuts. Microsoft tended to piecemeal all this together, but now they're doing something really different for Microsoft, right? And so now we've got 4 editions. For most people, it really boils down to 3 editions, but there's really 4 editions of it. And so I thought we would take this episode of the program and talk about it. So what, Steve, in your mind, you think this is a good thing? Are you glad to see this happen?
Definitely. I think because I know me and you kind of talked about it before on your show, my show, or whatever, and because we're kind of wondering, because Microsoft is presenting this as integrated with their tablet software, like the Metro interface and the desktop, and we're kind of worried that it would be, too much integrated. We saw a lot of problems in that. So,
well, the integration. If we're talking about Metro, I understand where Microsoft's coming from. One of the things we're going to talk about, in fact, is Microsoft's third quarter earnings call towards the end of the show, which is great news if you're a Microsoft stockholder. There is some good things happening there. But, it's not so much, I think, Steve, about Metro as it is just this whole licensing scheme. So let's get right to it. Let's start with the 4 different editions. And the first one we're going to talk about is Windows 8 itself. And that's designed to basically replace the equivalent of Windows 7 Starter, Home Basic, and Home Premium. So those 3 part numbers go away, and you just have Windows 8. Right? And I think that's a good move, Steve. I think that clears up a lot of confusion for people. Do you agree?
Yeah, because I know you said this quite a few times before. How many different versions did they have? Like 6?
Right. There was like 6 versions of it. There was actually more than that, but 6 basic versions. You had, let's see, Starter, Home, Basic, Home, Professional, Enterprise. So that's 5. And there's another version, I think it escapes me on there. But yeah, that was quite a number. But this really simplifies it. Well, let's talk about what you're not getting when you get the Windows 8. When you get Windows 8. I think what's more important, here's what you're not going to get. Well, you're not going to get things like device encryption, which is probably not all that important to home users, you say, Steve? Might be.
Probably not. Yeah, I don't see the average user really using encryption.
Okay.
It's more of a business power user thing, I think.
Okay, you're not going to get BitLocker and BitLocker to go. You're not going to be able to boot your machine off of a virtual hard disk. Okay. You don't get the client Hyper-V, which I'm really surprised by that. I would thought that Microsoft would want to get that out there to everybody, because how many home users are also enthusiasts, and why wouldn't they want to get more people into Hyper-V? I mean, a lot of home users, I think, create virtual machines now, don't you?
Quite a bit more. Well, I'm guessing probably more the power user. Well,
yeah, it's a power user thing. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Well, I'm just putting them like a little bit above the normal regular user, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot of people really using virtual machines, even to test out, the Windows 8. I'm probably saying this wrong again. The preview. I'll just preview version. That's what I'll say.
The preview version. Okay, that's fair enough. Consumer preview. Well, we got you. We understand. You also don't get the ability to join a domain. Obviously, a home user has no use to joining a domain. You don't get the encrypted file system. You don't have anything to do with the group policy. Here's another interesting thing. You aren't able to host a remote desktop session as well. Any Windows 8 client can, connect to a machine that's hosting a remote desktop, but you have to have the Pro version or the Enterprise version as well. Microsoft really, for most part, is trying to nail this down. Your choices are really 2 versions as a home user to look at, either Windows 8 or Windows 8 Pro. Okay? Here's something interesting, though. What I did not notice as a feature of Windows 8 is Media Center, Windows Media Center, Steve. I don't see that as built into the software right now.
That's funny that you mentioned it because I just found out right before the show. I was reading it because I was trying to get prepared. I was like, oh, they're charging for this. Well, I think they have before, didn't they? If it was like a non, or was it a free download? Do you know the pre?
Well, I'm going to go strictly off memory here. It seems to me that remember there was with XP when you Windows XP, the home version of it, the consumer grade of it. They came out with what they called the Media Center Edition. Remember that? Windows
Yeah.
Media Center Edition, and that gave you all that stuff. And so that was, I guess, an upgrade to Windows XP Home, I think. Again, I'm going off of memory. It's been so long ago since all that happened. I've always used the Pro or Business version of Windows, so I've always gotten that as part of the bundle. But now, Microsoft is not including Media Center as part of your install of Windows. But I got to ask, how many? I don't really know, Steve, how many people out there really use Media Center to begin with?
Now, I have used it before, Media Center, and this was with, I bought this computer. It was designed to be a multimedia computer, had an integrated TV tuner card, and this was with Vista. And I thought it was a wonderful, Media Center because it brought in all the, channel data if you wanted to pre-record, TV and things like that. So,
Well,
I like
yeah. Well, I think when I look at what they're doing with Xbox, right? And I think the big push from Microsoft now, well, I don't know, I know the big thing with Microsoft is to make the Xbox the center of your home entertainment system. Okay? So now, since they've updated the dashboard to Metro and now they've added things like YouTube and there's Hulu Plus and there's Netflix and all these services. I think you can get MLB, Major League Baseball now on there. And there's tons and tons of Crackle. You can get all these things now on there. And as well, if you're, I think, I want to say Infinity. If you have Xfinity, if you have Xfinity service, you're going to be able to get programming, HBO to go. I think this kind of spells the end, for the most part, of Windows. I mean, Windows Media Center is cool. It really is. But just nobody really uses it. So why, and I think Microsoft's going that direction and saying, why bother even installing it when nobody's using it?
Well, actually, that's a good point because, of course, the Xbox, that's one of the most probably used gaming consoles, and I've got one myself, and we obviously play games on it, but I also use that to put Netflix on TV. So when I have company over, and it plays actually very well, Netflix on through the Xbox 360.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's just the thing. With Windows, I think it makes perfect sense to eliminate Media Center and say, well, fine, if you want it. I don't think they should charge for it, though. I just think Microsoft is, why they would charge, it should just be an optional download. I can't imagine, I haven't heard they've actually made any significant changes to it. So why not just make it kind of like Windows Live, where once you do a clean install of Windows, you can go and say, okay, I want to install Movie Maker, I want to install, Messenger and these other apps. Why not just make Media Center part of that as well?
I'm guessing it's, since they're primarily a software company, yes, they do have Xbox and maybe a few other like mouse and keyboards and things. Primarily, they make their money through software. So I guess they tend to charge more for extras, and that's why obviously we got the different versions of Windows probably.
Well,
So,
I think, though, if Microsoft wants to really take it up to the next level, they're going to have to drop, in my opinion, this gold membership requirement in order to stream like Netflix movies and that kind of thing. Why should you have to pay for that?
yeah, that one I kind of agree as well. Because not only do I have to pay for Netflix, then I got to pay for this, gold membership just to be able to even just, access anything through the internet, or at least lower the price, 25 a year or something, or.
No, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly on that. Let's talk about. And by the way, yes, it's available in 32 or 64-bit, x86, 32-bit or 64-bit. Now, the thing is, I think if you're a PC enthusiast, and a lot of the people watching this show, they are, I don't think that Windows 8 is going to be necessarily satisfactory to you. Especially if you're a power user. And let's talk a little bit about the next step. And by the way, if you're using Windows 7 Pro, you cannot do an in-place upgrade to Windows 8. You have to do Windows 8 Pro. Okay, that's a requirement. So, what are you going to get with what are you going to get with Windows Pro that doesn't come then in Windows 8? Well, this is where you're going to start getting the cool toys of Windows. You're going to get, again, Client Hyper-V, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, you're not probably still going to join a domain, but you are going to get the encrypted file system. You are going to be able to host remote desktops. But I think that BitLocker, the ability to boot from VHD, I think that's really cool, Steve. I really do think that's cool. So here you do. You can set up another Windows virtual machine. I'm assuming you can do the same with a Linux-based machine. You're going to create this. You're going to create this virtual hard drive within the Hyper-V client, and then you can boot your machine rather it's like a dual boot type environment. You're doing it off of a virtual hard drive, and then you're going to get that full native power of the machine versus going through a hypervisor. So you're going to get that full power of the machine, and I think that's really, really cool.
I know that, like, in the virtualized environment now, they got these virtual servers that meter out their operating system. Well, I know it's more of a network thing, but here we're talking about natively on the computer that you're actually going to be using. So, yeah, because let's say later down the line, the file gets corrupted, the virtual hard drive, then it's very easily replaceable because it's just a file you can easily copy and keep a backup somewhere on another hard drive, and then it'd be very easy to reinstall per se.
Right. Well, and here's another thing, and I want to bring that up. Okay. And that is, we would be remiss not to talk about Windows 8 Enterprise. This is the version that you won't hear Microsoft talking about. You're not going to hear them talking about a lot because this is targeted towards large companies. However, most of the bloggers, most of the journalists out there in the Windows world are saying, if you're thinking about Windows 8 Pro, you should strongly consider Windows 8 Enterprise, and here's why. Well, you're going to get, and these are features I think even small businesses would like, and the first one is called Windows to Go. So what is Windows to Go? Well, basically you get a bootable Windows machine that you can put on a flash drive and use that on your home hardware or what have you right there, which keeps everything separate, keeps your home computer's apps and operating system totally independent of a work setting. And I can see that being really, really useful. Okay. VDI, somebody mentioned VDI in the chat room. So VDI gets updated with Remote FX for Windows Server 2012 users. You can experience a virtualized instance of Windows 8 Enterprise right from the data center. Okay, and you get the full desktop. You can use it even with thin clients. Now, here's the interesting part. You ready for this? I think this is kind of cool. Even a Windows RT-based thin client. You could run a VDI, a Windows 8 VDI, Enterprise VDI, on Windows RT device. So why wouldn't businesses want this Windows 8 Enterprise versus Windows 8 Pro? There's a couple other cool things. Branchcache comes with the Enterprise version, and basically what that does is the way I understand it, on your network, if you got machines browsing websites and retrieving files and all that, they can be stored. This stuff can be stored on the local network, rather than all these machines independently grabbing these resources on the net. I think that's kind of cool. So you're getting that, and then your ability to do site installs of Metro applications as well. That's also baked into the Enterprise version. I think the problem is, at the end of the day, Steve, is the way that you have to purchase Windows 8 Enterprise. You have to go through what's called Microsoft Volume Licensing and get basically their software assurance agreement, SA, or you might also think of it in terms of a maintenance agreement. But don't you think that's a better, I mean, you're getting all the features of Windows Pro, and then you're getting all these other extras, and I think in the business world, I would be looking at Windows 8 Enterprise, Steve.
I know we talked about it like during the pre-show where, business users are probably should get the Enterprise version versus the Pro, which is more, it seems, geared towards power users a little bit. But I didn't realize you need the volume licensing for that, and then, which is going to be probably cost prohibitive for a lot of small businesses.
You do have to buy minimum quantities of licenses on it. I mean, it's not really out of hand. It's just, but you're purchasing it with maintenance on the software. So that in turn raises the cost ultimately, because you're paying, an annual service agreement on Windows, right? So you're buying X number of licenses up front, and then you're paying maintenance to Microsoft. But in exchange, you're going to get this. Now, here's something else that's interesting. I think this is the case. If you go with the new version, if you go with what's called Windows Intune, and probably, I'm going to guess a lot of people may not be familiar with Windows Intune. Microsoft has recently introduced version 3 of Windows Intune. So what is it? It is a hosted way to make sure that your PCs on your work network are, all patched up to date. Antivirus is all updated. Takes care of remedial issues, normal routine issues on your PCs on your network, but it's hosted by Microsoft, and it's called Windows Intune. One of the side benefits of having a Windows Intune subscription is that you get you got the enterprise version of Windows 7 as part of your subscription Intune. So I see that might be a mechanism for a company to get their hands on Windows 8 Enterprise. Not necessarily volume licensing, but perhaps as part of their Windows Intune subscription.
Oh, that's interesting. Incorporate it with the other program.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's kind of interesting. So there's some real good reasons to take a look at going that route. To me, I just think, Steve, it makes a lot more sense to go with Windows 8 Enterprise for a business and go with Windows 8 Pro as a home user. I really do. I think there's some cool stuff you're going to get with the Pro version. You're not with the home version. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with more Windows Computing Weekly.
Gfi Software provides a single source for networking, security, monitoring, and hosted IT solutions for small to medium enterprises. GFI's extensive suite of award-winning on-premise solutions includes anti-spam, email security, email archiving, endpoint antivirus, centrally managed backup, event log management, server-based faxing, network monitoring, removable device control, vulnerability scanning and patch management, and web filtering and security. GFI also offers a suite of hosted solutions including email security and continuity, frontline email defense, and monitoring and remote management. With award-winning technology, an aggressive pricing strategy, and a strong focus on the unique requirements of small to medium-sized enterprises, GFI Software can satisfy your needs on a global scale. Please visit us online at www.gfi.com. GFI Software provides a single source for networking, security, monitoring, and hosted IT solutions.
Okay, we're back. We have to adjust the volume level on that spot. Sorry about that, folks. It still is kind of an art form. We'll get that fixed next episode. I don't want that audio blast in the way. Let's get back to it. So, there is some great resources if you're wondering what version of Windows 8 to get out there, and we'll share some of those with you a little bit later on. The one version we have yet not talked about is called Windows RT. Now, this is the version of Windows for to run on PCs with ARM processors or tablets running ARM processors. First off, Steve, I got to ask you: is that what do you think of that name?
I'm not sure. Some of the naming schemes. I don't know. It's I never really thought about the name in itself. I'm kind of wondering why they don't call it Windows Metro, because everybody kind of knows the interface already. So, but that's just me.
Well, I think the RT, because Windows RT is a stack in Windows that basically runs the Metro application. I don't understand why they actually named the edition Windows RT. I would think it would be better to name it, Windows for tablets or something like that. It was Windows on, everybody was referring to it as Windows on ARM or WOA. Okay, but let's talk about what you don't get with Windows RT. Well, number one, you can't upgrade any of the home versions of really any version of Windows 7. You can't do an upgrade to Windows RT. As my understanding, it's got to be pretty much a clean install. Okay. You're also not going to be able to run any software written for the Intel platform is not going to run, other than what Microsoft includes. Whatever they include in RT, that's what you're going to get. Even desktop software. I guess there is going to be, Steve, a Windows RT desktop, much like the Windows 8 desktop. Is that what you're hearing as well? I guess that's.
I'm pretty positive because I've been on the Microsoft site and they have a graph and it shows that the RT version does have a desktop version on it as well. So
it does. It does. Gordon Keenan in the chat room is going, should have been named Windows RTS or Return to Sender.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I also to mention on the Windows RT that you can't buy it separately. It has to be pre-installed on a device like a PC and or tablet, and so you can't just purchase it separately or as an upgrade. Well, I don't know about an upgrade, but
right. No, no, it's a pre-installed OS, and I think that's because it is. Although you could build a PC with an ARM processor, they don't really want that. I think that's Microsoft's way of saying, no, we don't want that. Let's see, you do not get storage spaces with Windows RT. You do not get the Windows Media Player as part of RT. You do not get any of the features you're going to find in the Pro Edition, okay? So you're not going to get any of that stuff, but pretty much everything else that you're going to get with Windows. Now, here is the thing, though. Here's the goodie that you get with Windows RT. You ready for this? You get a touch-enhanced version of the new version of Office. You're going to get that as part of the install. So here we are running Intel-powered PCs, and we're going to have to pay for a copy of Office. But if you buy a Windows RT machine tablet, you're going to get Office, the next version of Office, as part of the install. You think that's fair, Steve?
Oh, wow. I'm surprised they actually doing this. And I'm glad you brought it up because I remember reading that as well. And at first I thought it was a typo. You know, they're including like a touch-based version of Office. I was like, wow, that's
yeah, and you don't get that. You do not get that with Windows 8. You don't get it with Windows 8 Pro. You don't get it with Windows 8 Enterprise.
Well, I'm kind of wondering as well, since it's based on tablet. I'm not saying there's going to be, you know, I'm guessing the features might be a little limited considering the screen size, but I'm just guessing at this point.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough. Those are basically the 4 versions of Windows 8. We're going to see a release candidate early this summer, I guess, and then the RC in early summer, and then I guess the thought is a late September actual RTM, so that devices then will be showing up before the holiday buying season with Windows 8 pre-installed. And I got to tell you, Steve, I am very curious to see a Windows 8 tablet and play with it and work with it.
And actually, Bruce, I got a question for you on, what next to this for the Windows RT, because I'm kind of wondering how well it's going to be adopted, because you got to think Windows doesn't make a tablet, so is the price point going to be good enough? Because for it to really sell, it's got to be on a pretty good, well-developed PC tablet. So what do you think on that?
Well, I think that Microsoft is going to meet more success provided the pricing is right than what they have with Windows 7 Phone. And by the way, you know how everybody's been going on and on about this new Nokia 900, Lumia 900 phone. Comes with Windows 7.5, which is called Mango. AT&T, rumor is, has even sold out some stock on those. Without going into a lot of detail, Windows 8 phone is around the corner, and it has been confirmed that you will not get an upgrade from Windows 7.5 to Windows 8 on these phones. Microsoft is already making it real clear, it's not going to happen. Why? Because it's in their interest not to do that. They want to sell even new phones after this. I think that's a reason right there to kind of hold off. If your current phone is doing the job for you in your contract, even if you really love Windows Phone, I would wait. I would wait until Windows Phone 8 is released rather than going out and buying a Nokia Lumia 900. Now, to answer your question, Steve, provided the price point is, here's where we get into real gray territory. Think about this. The companies that's going to be Samsung, for example, will probably be big in making Windows 8 tablets. HTC might do something. There'll be a handful of companies that get into the Windows 8 tablet business big time. The thing is, they don't have that walled garden. They don't have that ecosystem to cash in on selling all the other stuff like iOS devices with Apple, right? They don't have that benefit of that store. So they've got to make their money entirely on the sale of that hardware. And of course, they're paying Microsoft a licensing fee to get their hands on Windows 8. So here's what's going to happen. These tablets are going to go smack dab right in the middle of tablet pricing territory, and they're going to go head to head with Ultrabooks. Ultrabooks are going to get down to around $699. And I think they're going to bring these Windows 8 tablets in around that $599, $699 price range. And you're also in the iPad territory right there. So you're going to have all these button heads at these price points. So at the $699 in that $500 to $700 price range, the consumer ultimately is going to go, everybody talks about iPads. Everybody wants to talk iPad. To the consumer, the iPad is the tablet. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. We're talking. I guess we're getting some lagging here on the stream. I don't know.
Having me, I've been getting a little bit of Skype issues. It cut out the audio, but I'm still able to catch up, I think.
Okay, so there might be a little bit of latency here. I don't know. It is what it is. It's the internet. It's Skype, and that's what we're dealing with right here. Tom Mack says poor Justin TV is feeling the pain with their server upgrade. Yeah. Yeah. I've got opinions about the way things are going with Justin TV, but we're not going to talk about it on this show today. I have no right to complain as it is free. As Boo says, Ustream is just as bad at the moment. These are some of the things that we live with when we're broadcasting on free CDNs. But getting back to that, I just think as it stands right now, I hope that Microsoft has more success with their tablets than they have with Windows Phone. And we're actually going to talk about that here in just a moment, because Microsoft recently just had their third quarter earnings call. And that was kind of an interesting conversation. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of their earnings call. Let's get to the real basics. Right now, they just completed their third quarter, so their fourth quarter actually ends in June. Runs April, May, and June. And here's what happened. Their revenues were up 6% over third quarter of last year. Their net income fell just slightly. So their expenses went up, their revenue went up, but the actual amount of money they cleared is off just slightly. Their earnings per share, what's called EPS, fell to by 1.6%. But these are actually better numbers than Microsoft actually was projected by the street. Here's what's kind of surprising is that the revenue from their gaming, I think Microsoft calls it their consumer devices division. That's like your Xbox and all that kind of stuff. Revenue was actually down 16% in that market. Gaming is down significantly for Microsoft, and the reason they're saying is it's kind of been a softening in the market for consoles. Steve, I got to tell you, I think that's because the Xbox 360 is getting rather long in the tooth for a lot of people. I think everybody that pretty much wants an Xbox has one. There needs to be, they got to get a new version out right away.
I think also it's other markets. Give an example, mobile gaming. Because the iOS Gaming Center actually has more users than the Xbox Live. And now this is what I've read last year. I don't know if it's changed since then. Mm-hmm. And because I think everybody has mobile phones and, of course, iPhone. So, the gaming's going to probably start taking off on mobile devices, and now with tablets and devices like that.
Yeah, you bring up you bring up a really good point when you're talking about gaming, because, Apple might just inadvertently own the gaming department through the iPad, through iOS, and through AirPlay. I think they could easily begin to dominate the entire gaming market with that, because you've got your gaming console right there in your tablet. And now you can do the AirPlay mirroring right to your Apple TV device, and there you've got it. And and that game's mobile. Take it with you. You don't need the console. And iOS is just version 6. I think is going to make it even better, Steve. I really do. Okay.
The Skype just cut out.
We're having one of those awkward moments. Hello? Okay. We lost you there.
I can hear you.
Okay, you're back. Okay. That's kind of what we deal with, is bandwidth and all that cool stuff on Skype. Okay. Well, we were talking about the Microsoft earnings calls. So, Steve, you're kind of thinking that. I think you froze up again. Did you freeze up? No, there you are. Okay.
Okay, I turned off the JTV stream in case that's the problem. I thought I turned it off a long time ago, but
okay,
it's still running.
Okay, so that was taking up some of your available bandwidth. Okay. At any rate, so there we are with the gaming. You kind of think the gaming, the reason the Xbox division is not losing money, but revenues are down, is more to do with mobile gaming and that kind of thing, rather than the Xbox 360 being pretty long in the tooth, which it is. There's no argument about that.
Yeah, that too, yes. Well, it's not just, one reason. It's several, but I think the mobile gaming market is a big chunk of it.
Yeah, okay. That's fine. What's clear, though, Microsoft is their consumer-based PCs are not doing a whole lot better either than their gaming stuff. And Microsoft also kind of lumps the phone business into that space as the Xbox, by the way. And they're not saying, Steve, Microsoft is not saying how many millions of dollars they're losing promoting Windows Phone, which has been lackluster at best.
I think. Well, I can't really substantiate this, but from what I understand, Microsoft does not really make a lot of money selling licensing their mobile phone operating system compared to their desktop operating systems. I think it was like $1 or $2 or something like that. I can't substantiate that, and I don't know if you heard anything about that.
It's a few bucks per license, and it's not as substantial as the licensing they get for desktop PCs. They paid Nokia a whole lot of money to convince Nokia to build their business around Windows 7, or Windows Phone, I should say. Let's just call it Windows Phone. They paid them a lot of money. But Windows Phone went from earning $210 million in their third quarter of last year to losing $229 million third quarter of this year. That is a $500 million loss. That's a $500 million hit that Microsoft is taking because of Windows Phone. And I got to tell you, I feel sorry for some of the pundits out there that are so enthused about the Windows Phone. Even Paul Thurrott, if you read his writings lately, is basically saying, this is my best phone ever. I sure hope it makes it anymore. Even he, I think, is getting really reticent about the future of Windows Phone. It's not looking good out there at all.
Oh, you say it's not looking good?
Yeah, for Windows Phone, no, it's looking horrible, Steve. I mean, Nokia's having a bloodbath financially. Yeah, they might have sold a number of Lumia 900s, but not enough to even recoup what they're spending on developing that thing. And look what a total screw-up they had with the launch of that device. If you look when they launched the Nokia 900, the very day of the launch was a Easter Sunday. People couldn't even go out and buy one that day because AT&T stores were mostly closed.
Yeah, that's bad.
Who planned that? Who was the maniac who thought that one up? And then people got them home and found out you couldn't connect the wireless with them properly. It wouldn't work because there was a software glitch. And so admittedly, Nokia, addressed it pretty quickly, but AT&T was essentially giving this phone away. There's always going to be a market for cheap, okay? But you didn't see people standing out in lines to get Windows phones, and you're not going to either, I don't think. Tom Mack is in the chat room, and he loves his HTC Trophy phone. For businesses, works very well, and he really likes his phone. No, this is not going to be a Microsoft rant, because I personally went out and I seen a Nokia 900. Held it in my hand, flipped through the tiles and all that, and it's kind of cool. But Microsoft's not done a good job selling these phones to the public. You don't have to convince me. Convince the people, the number of people it's going to take to buy the phone to make it into a successful business, because ultimately at some time Microsoft's going to say, look, we're going to have to pull the plug on this puppy. We're just hemorrhaging cash. They lost $500 million on it already. Of course, I think I've kind of feel sorry for Android phone owners too, but it is what it is.
Maybe if they could tie, I don't know, maybe they could tie in services along with, their phones. That way, I don't know, at least for business, because of course business is their biggest money maker. Maybe I don't know. Do they have like a versions of Mobile Me, or I don't know the correct thing with that.
Well, I'm not sure I understand what you're asking me there, Steve.
Like, of course, before they moved to the iCloud, the Apple with their iPhone had Mobile Me, which is obviously.
Okay. Oh, right. Well, yeah, no. Look, Windows Phone 7 works brilliantly with Microsoft Exchange. Okay, and it'll work with Office 365 just fine. And, there's some guys, Brian Wolkin in the chat room is pointing out it works brilliantly for businesses. I get that, Brian. And absolutely, it does work brilliantly. It also works with Google Apps for business pretty decently as well. And you can have multiple email accounts. I get that. I understand it fully. Microsoft has done would you or would you not agree in the chat room that Microsoft has done a less than stellar job of getting that out there and getting Windows Phone into the public mindset? And that is where the problem is. Gordon Keenan says the iPhone works just fine for me. It works just fine for me as well. And because I use it with Google Apps for business, I don't use Microsoft Exchange anymore. I moved on to Google Apps for Business, the paid version, and that's what I'm doing. But I'm also looking very heavily at Office 365, and I might make that decision to move over shortly. I'm not licensed, but a certified reseller, and I do have clients that I put on Office 365, but this isn't the show we'll talk about that on. I'm just saying that Microsoft, to me, Steve, and the others in the chat room, I think Microsoft has not done a good job with Windows Phone 7, particularly in marketing and creating that public awareness of what's going on there. That's my opinion.
Yeah, that too, because of course when Rune came out and they put that on the phone, did they have like I guess that was Windows 7, right? A Rune version.
I'm sorry.
Wasn't of course when they had their MP3 player, it was they call it Rune and
Zune. Zune.
Rune.
Zune, which is no more.
Yeah.
And I like the Zune, by the way. That was a product I actually wanted to see make it, was the Zune. I thought they were beautiful. The Zune HD is a very cool device.
Now, did they do a version of Windows 7, or I can't remember because I didn't know much.
Well, all those mobile Windows up till Windows Phone 8. Before that comes out, everything that you see from Microsoft in the mobile market is a modified version of Windows CE, I believe. Heavily modified versions of Windows CE. Okay, that's what they are. At any rate. Microsoft's not doing really much better in the consumer space, by the way, on the PC side of things, and that's because worldwide PC sales grew 2% to 4% over the past year. Business PC sales up 8%. Consumer PC sales are up 6%, but yet their overall market share did not do as well. I think Microsoft is feeling the tablet effect to some degree.
They're
definitely feeling that in the consumer space. The enterprise space. Look, the reality is Microsoft makes all of its profit from the business world. All of its losses come from the consumer side of things. And look, I'm not lying to you. You can look it up. It's right here. The numbers are everywhere to see. Microsoft, as a whole, when we take all of its consumer businesses, bundle them together, because Microsoft doesn't really break them apart and say it's so much as phone, so much as Xbox, so much as Zune, so much as this. That side loses money consistently for Microsoft. There are platforms divisions, servers and tools divisions. They all make a ton of money. That's where Microsoft makes their cash, selling Office to businesses and Windows and licensing Windows. That's where they make their revenue, right there. Things aren't going so well for them in certain areas, especially in the phone area. Xbox, like I said, Steve, I kind of think Xbox has got more to do with just the platform is getting long in the tooth. And I think people are starting now to think, I'm going to hold off maybe even buying an Xbox, because I hear rumors of a new version come out. But mobile gaming is taking off in a big, big way. So, wow, we talked about a whole heck of a lot, and the shows went over as usual. I do that all the time. Steve, I'm going to go ahead and quit talking for a minute, and I would like for you to talk about your show and a little bit about Chatterboxed-Live. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about it?
Oh, geez. Of course, I think we see some of the same viewers. Of course, they jump into a lot of shows as well. For right now, I'm on Fridays at around 10 p.m. The time's going to probably be adjusted. It might be around 9 p.m. as well. We also coordinate with the Tech Webcast in Australia, and obviously they bring in live guests. Supposedly, I don't know, they're supposed to get maybe Brian Bushwood. I don't know if they called us back yet on that, but we'll see. So you never know what's going to show up on the show or whatever. So
Brian, Brian Bushwood, he was on a show about gaming on Twit here recently. Didn't Leo Laporte just cancel that? Him and a gal named Veronica were hosting a game on. So I think it was called on Twit.
Well, isn't he with Revision now, or is he still with Leo Laporte?
I don't know if he's doing anything with Leo Laporte now. Revision 3, yeah, that's where Scam School, I think, is what he calls it.
Yeah, I think I heard it.
Scam School with Brian Bushwood, and real nice guy. But I've seen where Leo Laporte canceled the show due to just wasn't getting the ratings that he was looking for. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, folks, that is this week's edition of Business Computing Weekly. I thank everybody for coming by and spending some time with us. I want to thank our guest, Steve Clingan of Chatterboxed-Live. Also goes by Linux Cool Dude. And I tell you what, we will see you next Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for coming by, everybody. Have a great weekend. Be careful out there. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.